Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the special council meeting of Friday, January 21st, 2022 to order. Just an announcement before the playing a national anthem. Staff are working with the Grimsby Fun School of Music to introduce local voice talents through the singing of O Canada. Tonight, we will share our first version of that with our council team, with the plan of featuring different local talent every few months. To kick off this initiative, we have Abby Gianni, who is 15 years old. Abby has been taking voice and piano lessons at Grimsby's Fun School of Music for 7 years. She is working on her Royal Conservatory Level 8 in both instruments, and she enjoys singing for Grimsby's events whenever she can. We would also like to give a big thank you to Jen McKillop, the owner and music director for Grimsby Fun School of Music, for putting this together. Please stand for O Canada. Thank you.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God, keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Niagara region and Grimsby are situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattaway-Wendoronk, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The regional municipality of Niagara and the town of Grimsby stands with all Indigenous peoples, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, we move to number 5, approval of the agenda. Need a mover and seconder for approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Dunstall, second by Councillor Bain. Moved by Councillor Dunstall, second by Councillor Bain. Resolved that the agenda for the special council meeting of January 21st, 2022 be approved. All in favor? That's carried. We move to adoption of previous minutes. Councillor Frake.
Thank you, Mayor Jordan. I'd like to lift 7A from the minutes of the Committee of the Whole, of the last Committee of the Whole, December 20, which deals with the Vision Zero program.
All right, that is so noted. Councillor Cadwell.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I was planning to do that too. Thank you.
All right, we need a mover and seconder for the lifting of that item. Moved by Councillor Frake and a seconder, Councillor Cadwell. Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Cadwell. Resolved that resolution number CW 21-301 of the Committee of the Whole minutes of December 20th, 2021 be lifted for separate consideration. All in favor?
Can I have a recorded vote, please?
All right.
Councillor Bothwell,
Yes.
Councillor Dunstall,
Yes.
Councillor Frake,
Yes.
Councillor Cowell,
Yes.
Councillor Ritchie,
No.
Councillor Sharp,
No.
Councillor Vane,
Nope.
Councillor Vardy,
Yes.
Mayor Jordan.
Yes.
That's carried.
All right. And we'll start to discuss that now and approve the rest of the Committee of the Whole later. So Councillor Frake, did you want to lead the discussion or do you want to?
Yeah, I'll lead it, no problem. I wasn't there for that meeting, but that's not the reason why I'm lifting it. But I'm lifting it because I think that we need to rediscuss this. I think it's a very important program that we should adopt. That's my opinion, of course. Everyone else will have their own. I did some research on the effects of putting speeding cameras in various places. I know there has been some concern about cost and budgets and so on and so forth, but from my perspective, I think cost and that type of thing comes second. I know there's been negative remarks made about cash grabs and things like that. Well, that's not my thing, and I think that's a negative way of looking at this. I think that there's a program here that we can adopt, which will save lives, and that's the important thing for me. So I have done some research around the world, for that matter, and I'll just quote a few things which anyone want to discuss, they can. In Toronto, after they installed the program, with the presence of cameras, reduced the speed by 63% and pedestrian injuries by 23%. The number of speeding vehicles has dropped, research showed, after the program was in place. I'm not quoting all the stats from Toronto, I'm picking things here. In Edmonton, speeding tickets numbers from mobile automated enforcement locations have been decreasing every year since 2016. So they've installed this in 2016. Overall, violations have reduced by 75%. Since they put in Vision Zero, which was adopted by the City of Edmonton in 2015, fatalities have decreased by 63%. Serious injuries have declined by 40%. So these kind of stats, you have to stand up and look at these things and say, well, and you weigh the cost against stats. I looked at some worldwide stats as well. In the UK, the Department of Transport estimated that cameras, these types of cameras that we're talking about here, had led to a 22% reduction in personal injury collisions, and 42% fewer people were killed or seriously injured at camera sites. Again, I'm picking some stats. I don't want to go into all the details. In Niagara, there was a study done a few years ago. It showed that leading casualty factors of all fatal collisions were 48%, followed by speed, which was 19%. Speed, followed by driver error, was the leading cause of a fatality involving a young person. And that's what we're trying to do. We're not only trying to protect young people in school zones, but I think we're trying to protect people along the whole roadway, all along that road. And when these cameras go in place, and the speeders are usually the same ones all the time anyways, that drive along Main Street, for example. Once they get this is a behavior thing. Once they know there's speed cameras in place, I think their behavior will change, and you will see fewer people speeding along the road, and especially in these zones. So I think it's important, and we have to look at this not from a cost perspective, from a fatality perspective, from a life perspective. And we want to protect our residents. We particularly want to protect our kids who walk along these streets. I know there's all types of other arguments against this, but you can't argue against protecting a life or safety for our citizens and for our kids along those areas. So I'll stop there. I don't want to hog the camera because I believe a few other folks want to have a few things to say as well. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Cadwell.
Thank you, Mayor. I read through report DPW 21-32 again. And I just have the comments, my own personal comments that I was taking notes while I was reading through it again. And then I'm going to, I'd like to ask our director, Mr. Brandon Wortman, if he wouldn't mind just giving comment on the Vision Zero program that's been brought to us through the region. So I think this is a bold pledge to improve safety across our town. Using a database-driven and targeted approach, focusing on locations where improvements are most needed, the plan addresses safety for the most vulnerable users of transportation systems: pedestrians, school children, older adults, and cyclists. So I support this this Vision Zero safety plan 100%. And if I may ask again, if with the approval of everybody, that if Mr. Wortman could just speak on the Zero Vision Plan too. Thank you. Or Vision Zero Plan, sorry.
Brandon, go ahead.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I can just provide you my general comments, I guess, professional opinion about the program. I think, the way I'm looking at it, it's another tool for us in the battle and to curtail speeding. The idea behind the program is that it creates a bit of a halo effect. If drivers are aware of cameras, and they will be posted, the signs will be posted indicating that they're entering an area under speed enforcement. So the idea is that drivers driving through that area will be recognizing that there's a speed zone in that area, and will reduce their speeds accordingly. And it also could transfer to other streets. Maybe the perception out there that if the cameras are around, I may be less likely to speed. So it is a tool that's been made available through the province, so that they've provided this opportunity to the larger municipalities to implement these type of programs. Other than that, I'm happy to answer any other questions, but I think in general, I'm supportive of the program, and I think it's I don't see much negatives to it. I think it is supportive of the various things that we've implemented ourselves in terms of traffic safety as well.
Thank you, Brandon. Councillor Vane.
Thank you. In regards to Councillor Frake's statistics, I think we were researching the same areas. And the one thing that he left out was and I'm not suggesting he was faulting at it. I'm just saying that I found another article in Consumer Reports magazine, which is a US-based magazine. And they say in the year 2021, post-pandemic, that the traffic deaths are up 18.4%, mostly due to speeding. So I'm just adding on to what Councillor Frakes already said. Now, having said that, I am supportive of red light cameras. Or not red, sorry, speeding cameras, always have been, but I have had some concerns raised, and I this is what's going to cause me to vote against this, is only because, we're going to get people driving down streets, and I know in the past, if I got stopped for a speeding infraction or something, or whatever, it sits in my mind, and I'm very cautious when I either drive through that area or I pick another route, and that's my concern. We have all raised concerns on every single ward, whether it's Lake Street, Dorchester, Main Street, whatever. We've all got streets that have speeding issues. Not one of them is going to be covered by these speed cameras. And that's my beef. If the region was willing to move them around to non-regional roads, I would support this 150%. But if you're just going to pick certain regional roads and all that other stuff, I can't support it, because you're just going to dump it onto our roads, and it's going to become bigger issues for us. So that's why I'm not going to support it, even though I am a huge supporter of speed cameras. So that's it. Thank you.
Councillor Bothwell.
Thank you, Mayor Jordan. I'd just like to read a few notes that I made so I don't miss a point. First of all, I fully support the Vision Zero model for road safety, reducing traffic-related facilities, and implementing community safety initiatives. The motion before us is to amend the intermunicipal agreement with Niagara courts to permit the region to recover costs for implementing red light cameras and automated speed enforcement or photo radar, including costs for 12 new court staff and 2 project managers at the region that are estimated at $15 million over 3 years, with a 5-year extension that can be approved by the Commissioner of Public Works. This motion is not to financially support other initiatives within the Vision Zero model. The Vision Zero program and initiatives can continue without implementing red light cameras and ASEs. The Vision Zero program also can include additional strategies for the 4 E's: engineering, education, enforcement, and engagement, such as road design improvements, new traffic signals, pedestrian crossovers, police partnerships, speed signs, speed limit reduction, public education, and engagement. There are many more tools in the toolbox than just RLCs and ASEs. The ASE website also states that the reality is that municipalities will likely be operating at a loss in terms of the ASE program. I supported the region's introduction of the Vision Zero road safety program in 2019 when it was introduced through reports to council and local area municipalities. I appreciate the region's implementation of community safety zones, which double the fines for speeding on regional roads. Some municipalities, such as Durham and Kingston, recognize that public engagement throughout the creation of their Vision Zero road safety programs was a critical component to gain a better understanding of this public's concern and road safety priorities. Their online, publicly accessible Vision Zero road safety programs documents are comprehensive and reflect robust public engagement. Not all municipalities are participating in Vision Zero road safety programs have embraced photo radar. Many, such as Hamilton, have experienced issues with continued vandalism and delays in data processing through the Toronto Joint Processing Center. I don't believe this is the time for red light cameras and photo radar. Grimsby may get 1 ASE in 1 community safety zone by Blessed Trinity for only maybe 3 or 4 months out of the 3-year term. I appreciate that our town public works staff, Brandon especially recently, provided an update on our traffic safety program with next steps that include improved collaboration with the NRP to target problematic areas, additional speed volume monitoring equipment, and they're requesting a grant for some more of those, and a web portal for public education on the program. I believe we need robust community engagement first to clarify the issues and priorities, collaborate with the region on enhancement of our traffic safety program, to identify common community concerns and look at all options and opportunities within the Vision Zero model before committing. So that's my feeling. And again, this is just about an intermunicipal agreement that allows the region to look at recovering full costs for the program zero, the Vision Zero costing of this 15 million. And they can't do it without an intermunicipal agreement agreed by all municipalities to do so. So I fully support the Vision Zero initiatives. I'd love to see how Brandon and our staff can work to bring in some of those other things in the toolbox. And I'd love to see the region actually communicate to the public and put something online similar to Kingston. It's awesome. And Durham, that was public engagement and where they actually show and demonstrate all those other initiatives, not just in a report that's buried within the regional agendas or in an agenda of a council. It needs to be upfront and a website, and they just need to really look at all those other initiatives. So that's why I'm not supportive of it at this time. It doesn't mean I won't be later, but right now I'm not. I think it's too premature. We haven't done the groundwork we need to do, and there's more that needs to be done. Thank you.
Councillor Vardy.
Thank you very much, through you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I won't repeat what Councillor Bothwell has said, other than to say I fully support her comments. I support Vision Zero and all the tools that are in place to do that. My concern is, as Councillor Bothwell has stated, we haven't done a public engagement. And I'm not even sure that the region has provided data as to where they would put these cameras. They have said where they thought they would put them, but I don't know if there's any data to support why they would go there. And, you know, when I listened to Councillor Frake, and I know he's quite passionate about this issue, and he talks about all the different places around the world where they've been used, but what he doesn't address is the context in which they are, these measures are functioning. And I'll go back to, I have no problem with red light cameras. However, when I asked the regional representative when they came to first present this, I said, will there be anything to warn drivers that they are coming into a school zone, like a flashing light, something? They said no. And to my mind, if our goal is public safety, then and our goal is to get people to slow down, let's at least alert them. So the way it's being proposed right now, I can't support. If some of the other measures that I had voiced to the region when they presented were able to be put in place, I mean, they were talking about 24/7. Well, if let's say, and I don't know what the limit is, if it's 5K over the limit and you're driving 55 and a 50 at 2 a.m., and then you get, zinged with a huge ticket, that doesn't seem fair to me. School is out and it's not even sort of that there would be, extracurricular activities happening at 2 a.m. So, there's a lot of reasons I'm uncomfortable with these measures as they're being proposed right now. And there are financial aspects, and I can only reiterate what Councillor Bothwell said. Until we do a lot more of our homework and make sure that we are, supporting our residents in getting them to slow down, I really cannot support this as proposed. I'd like to support it, but I cannot do it the way it's being proposed right now. Thank you.
Councillor Sharp.
Thanks, Mayor Jordan. So I too have some questions about this Vision Zero program. I know I've been contacted about the amount of money that this is going to generate for the region. When the region came to us, they said $5.4 million per year is what they're budgeting to collect from these tickets. And so I just kind of interpolated or extrapolated that. There's 13 cameras. That's $415,000 per camera. There's 2 that they want to put in Grimsby. And that's $830,000 worth of fines in Grimsby. And that's if each camera gets the same amount. I know some might get more or less, but we're talking, close to $1 million going to be charged to our residents in the mail. 830,000 divided by 52, that's $16,000 per week. I don't know how much the tickets are. Maybe they're $100 each average. That's 1,600 tickets per week. Like, you're talking a few hundred tickets per day from these cameras. And so the region wouldn't tell us what the threshold is that will trigger a ticket. They also wouldn't tell us the hours that they would be on. They said it could be up to 24 hours a day, but they wouldn't tell us the hours. And they said that was confidential. And I think that is because they're going to have to hit this quota, right? It costs $4 million to put the cameras in. They need $5.4 million per year for the first 3 years. And if they're not getting that, they're going to turn the hours up. They're going to turn the speed down. They're going to need to get their quota, right? Or they're going to have to pay from your taxes and my taxes. And they don't want to raise your taxes, so they're going to have some control over how these cameras work. In the past, provincial governments have prohibited these. This is not a thing that is clearly a solution to the problem. They've been banned before, and so I don't support them. And I think we talked about this before, that personally, I'm not a real speeder, but if there's a risk that I'm going to get nailed for doing 3 or 5 or 6 kilometers over, I don't know, I'll just avoid that area, right? And so it just takes the speeding onto another road, right? And potentially onto the side roads, into our residential streets, to get away from the regional roads. And the other problem is the 2 areas where they can put these cameras. One is kind of by Park School, one is kind of by Blessed Trinity. They both are arteries that enter into our downtown. And so I worry that these cameras will cause our residents to just skip downtown entirely, head to the service road, or head to Highway 8 or head to the QEW, then go straight to the Superstore and Costco and avoid driving through town, which I think is a benefit to our downtown. So I'm not going to support this. And, that's all I had to say. Thanks.
Councillor Dunstall.
Thank you, Your Worship. I am in support of this, but I want to ask a few questions primarily for our audience, because I don't know if they've had the opportunity to read the report. So there's simple questions. Maybe our Director of Public Works can answer them, or our regional representative. So the cameras, there's two. Who's paying for them? That's one question. Who's deciding where they go, and when do we decide that the program works or it doesn't work, and can we remove the cameras? Who has the authority to do that? So there's a few questions that I think we need to bring out in the open so that people know all the facts. Did you want to answer those questions, Brandon?
Brandon,
Sure.
go ahead.
Sure. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. So in terms of the payment, the region is fronting the cost for the program. So basically, it's in their, what do you call it, capital budget, or their budget for bringing the program forward. It is, they do talk about in the program that it's going to be funded in the future through revenues of brought in from tickets. So the idea is the program is supposed to be revenue neutral. If there is any, what do you call it, profit in the program, the profit is supposed to be reinvested into the municipalities in relating to traffic safety programs. If there is a loss, essentially the region carries that loss and will take it out of the future year's revenue. So from a financial perspective, from a municipal perspective, I don't see it being a huge risk to us, a risk at all. The region is taking the front end cost and some of the risk associated with its success. So where do they go? The focus is primarily on community safety zones and school zones. So the kind of the areas you expect there's going to be a lot of pedestrians around and younger pedestrians around. So it is focused on the regional roads. In terms of the opt-out, I don't have an answer for you right now, but I can certainly look into that and get back to you about that.
Does the regional rep have any idea how we decide whether the program, is it a year or two? When we decide, oh, this isn't working, everybody's going other directions, our side roads are plugged up with people avoiding these cameras. I mean, there's some genuine concerns out there, and I'm just wondering if we, how do we get out of it if it really isn't working? It'd be embarrassing that we couldn't if it wasn't working. So I'm just asking the question. I'm very supportive of this. Do we know how we get out of it?
Sorry, I'm just reading over. So it talks about a minimum commitment of 3 years requested for the program up front, and then the region will ensure that there's enough data created or collected to assess whether it's a positive program or not.
And I guess if it doesn't work here, Brandon, there's 11 other municipalities that won't work in either. And
correct. And sorry, and I was going to say the other part of that too is it's not just locations in the town. The cameras are designed to be somewhat mobile, so they could be moved around. They could be in Grimsby. They could be in St. Catharines.
That's not what they said at the region when they came. They said they'd be fixed.
Well, they're fixed, but they're fixed in terms of when they're implemented, but they can be moved around. Like, they don't have to stay in that location. So they could be moved around based on the success of the program, complaints from the public and stuff like that. So
now another question, and this has come up when I've had conversation with other counselors, and that is, there's an initial upfront cost for the camera, but what's the life of the camera? Because if we increase the number of police officers who all get paid salaries, they get paid every year, and it goes on and on and on. Where a camera will have a life cycle that could be, I don't know, 5 to 10. So there's initial upfront cost, but if you spread it over 5 or 10 years, if you're talking $5 million, 5 to 10 years, it's not a lot of money then. And so that's something else to look at, because it's not a human, it's a machine, and it does wear out, but it doesn't ask for raises every year. And everybody else in this world needs a raise because of inflation. So just another question about how long they last. Do you know?
Speak to the, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor, I can't speak to the actual age of the devices. I can maybe talk about in terms of the, a digital or electronic devices versus a person, a police officer. I'm doing it, doing the enforcement. I think, the question will be, what is more efficient? What is a more efficient use of the police officer's time? My understanding is the NRP and other police services are supportive of this program because it allows them to focus their efforts, maybe not on enforcement, but to other crimes, other areas. So, I think that's maybe another way of looking at it. It's another tool for them to allow them to refocus their efforts on other areas which are maybe they feel is more important, or at least higher risk or higher issued crimes. So,
well, thank you for your answers. And
you're welcome.
Yeah, when something has been proven to save lives, it's hard to say no to it. So, thank you.
Councillor Frake.
Thank you, Mayor Jordan. I mean, it's almost, I hate to say it, I don't know how we can measure, cloud this whole issue with all the excuses and all the pushback on this when, at the end of the day, it's all about safety. It's about changing people's behaviors of driving and speeding. And I suppose I'm no different than anybody else. If I get caught once, I ain't going to do it again. So it's changing driver behavior, not just in the areas where the cameras are, but areas outside where the cameras are. So when people become more aware and they start to look and watch what they're doing and how they're driving. I mean, it's a behavior. I know Councillor Sharp said, these tickets are going to be issued to the residents of Grimsby. No, it's anyone who drives along the regional road. It is not just the people in Grimsby. I mean, the people who drivers along Main Street are not all from Grimsby. They're from other areas as well. Councillor Vane said he wasn't going to vote. He wasn't going to vote in favor of this, although he voted in favor of it last time around. But because it wasn't going to be installed in side streets. Well, we got to start somewhere. We can't just cover up our eyes and say, this is not worthwhile. How many lives does it take to justify costs or budgets? I mean, the NRP has endorsed it. The province has endorsed it. I mean, I just showed you just a sprinkling of information from various parts of the world and Canada where they've endorsed it and they see it work. I'm sure they didn't throw up their hands and say, well, it's not on side streets, or, if I'm going 5 over the limit, then I shouldn't be ticketed. Well, if you're going 5 over the limit, okay, you're speeding. It's a crime is a crime. And, that's the way it is, even though I don't think in all the research I've seen that the tickets were issued to folks who are doing less than 10 miles over. But anyways, to me, it all comes down to safety, and I don't put a price on safety. I think it's priceless. So that's why I think this is a good program, and I think we should all reconsider and vote in favor of it. And once again, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your time. Thank you.
Councillor Cadwell.
Thanks, Mayor Jordan. I'm just going to be brief. Hearing comments in this discussion with regards to people are concerned about the awareness, they're not being alert that these cameras are going to be set up. Well, I just look at when the Niagara Regional Police or any police service sets up their speed traps. Do they put a flashing light on, or do they let people know that they're going to be set up there? So they're there for speed traps. Cameras are there for a reason, to get people that are speeding. Thank you.
Councillor Sharp.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Jordan. Brandon, I have a question. You talked about a hopeful halo effect around these, that it would slow people down on side streets and just in general. So I know we've talked and you've talked a little bit before about speed bumps and like the phenomenon where people speed up in between speed bumps. And if there's two cameras, if people will speed up to make time, and if it's a fixed camera, which is what the region said, whether or not it can be moved like ever, it'll be a permanent fixed camera. So let's say there's one like it's by St. Joseph's Church, and people are going to slow down as they get to Blessed Trinity or maybe Roberts Road, and then they'll speed up as they get towards Kerman Avenue, and they're going to make up that time. And so I'm answering and asking, or sorry, I'm asking and answering the question. I know you told me before that people speed up to make up time around speed bumps. And I wonder if you could comment about that. And if you could also just, do people slow down on side streets where speed bumps are? Do people even slow down on the streets where the speed bumps are? I mean, like, we hear complaints about Lake Street that has, I don't know how many speed bumps on it. And I get complaints about Winston Road that has speed bumps on it. And I'm just not fully believing in this halo effect. I'm also wondering, any profit from these cameras, 50% of that goes to, I guess, the public works budget. Could you just comment on, I mean, I know that this is going to increase your budget to some extent eventually. And once the cameras are paid, how much is that? If we're looking at $5.4 million a year, first 3 years, break even, then is it, you know, a few $1,000,000 a year to add to our budget? And on that note, if they work, if people stop speeding, then who pays for it? Like, if there's no tickets generated, which would be ideal, but then how do we pay? Thanks.
Brandon?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to try to answer your first two questions, and then I may defer the third to our Director of Finance. So with respect to speed bumps, again, I think I've talked to you before some of the downsides to speed bumps, and there are positives of speed bumps as well. So Lake Street, actually Winston Road is probably a pretty good example where we implemented speed bumps, again, based on feedback from the community. They felt it was very important to slow traffic through there. So what we found was the speed bumps did in fact reduce speed, and also that they did have an effect of diverting the traffic from a residential area to the service road, which was the intent. So with respect to diverting the traffic, would these cameras have the same impact of diverting the traffic? I'm not sold on that. I think my gut feel is no, they wouldn't. Like,
what's the difference?
Well, the difference on Winston Road is which travel path is more convenient, right? So the service road is the more convenient route. You can travel at higher speeds. It's a wider road. Winston Road is a urban road, which is narrower. There's typically pedestrians, and with the presence of the speed bumps, it's the intent of that was to slow the traffic down and push them onto the side streets. The intent in the Regions program, or the Vision Zero program, is to control the speeds within that street. I think in order for drivers to take a shortcut, the shortcut is going to have to be a shorter route. So I have trouble justifying or agreeing with the position that it is going to divert a lot of traffic onto our side streets, and those side streets are now going to be full of traffic or people speeding on theirs, because I just don't see that it's going to be more convenient to drivers to avoid that area. So hopefully that answers your question. And then you had your third question with about the financing side of things, and I'm just going to defer to Mel if she doesn't mind answering that.
So thank you, Brendan and Councillor Sharp. So through you, Mayor Jordan, if the program doesn't generate the revenue, so if we don't generate, I think right now they've got the break-even point at the 32,000 tickets, but they've also built in, the reason that that's the break-even point is that they have substantial operating costs to support those tickets through the court system. And the region did talk about briefly when they made their presentation that if the tickets go up or down, the program is scalable and the costs are scalable. So if we're issuing no tickets in your example, we would not need all of those clerks and the court services, and the program would not cost nearly as much. So the program will scale both up and down based on our experience and the success of the program. And I would suggest that the region, if we are receiving less tickets, that is going to be very positive, and they're not going to be upscaling in the staff, and they would have the same balance between the revenue and the expenditures. They have flexibility to manage within that. If the program is at a loss, the region has made a commitment through this 3-year pilot that they are absorbing all elements of that loss. So it would be covered through the regional tax levies or surpluses or reserves. And they will be presenting results of that program over the first 3 years and then making a decision on how to move forward from there based on that experience. If there is sustained losses, I'm quite certain that would be incorporated into the future of the program.
Thanks, Melanie. I'm still not sold on the speed cameras, but thank you.
Councillor Bothwell.
Thanks again, Mayor Jordan. Again, I'm just, I did reach out to our NRP colleagues and our staff sergeant out there for some input as to whether or not NRP had been consulted. And the traffic enforcement unit responded to say that we weren't consulted on Vision Zero, as it's a region program aimed at road safety. And they used they have all the data. The staff sergeant in the traffic enforcement unit was asked for his opinion on the intersections for the red light cameras, but they based their choices on, their consultant based it on number of collisions and tickets. Photo radar, they had no input. It appears as if the ASCs are going to go in the designated community zones. And so what I'm hearing is that the reach out to our critical partner, which is our Niagara Regional Police and District 8, didn't happen. And that's where I'm saying, we have to go and look at the whole Vision Zero model and get that stakeholder input and get the direct community input from both our public and from our beat officers who are out there who know everything of where our pressure points are. And Brandon and our traffic safety program, that is so important to have that liaison and target where we need to do our enforcement. So I think that not enough public engagement has gone into the refinement of the program. It's only been since 2019 that the province allowed red light cameras, and only a few municipalities are embracing photo radar. So it's so new, it's to me not the time. With respect to tickets, some statistics that was provided from the traffic enforcement unit is 2018 that in Grimsby, PONs and warnings combined, 1,239, in 2019, 1,401, in 2020, 819 tickets, and in 2021, 1,011 tickets. So that's the range of tickets that Grimsby's been issuing speeding PONs and warnings. So I think looking at 32,700 tickets across the 4 ASEs, only 4 automatic speed enforcement units over 3 years is the target they have to achieve to make it profitable. But my main concern is we need more input into the program, and we need more transparency to the public as to what it means and what other options and initiatives are out there. Thank you.
Councillor Dunstall, and then I will allow Councillor Furtick to speak since it is a regional issue, but go ahead, Councillor Dunstall.
Thank you. Yeah, I know Councillor Frake, Regional Councillor Frake had his hand up first, but I was hoping you'd pick me first, and thank you for doing that, Mayor Jordan, because I had a couple more questions. And one, of course, we all know that all 12 municipalities need to vote in favor of this for this to work. So the first question I had is, how many municipalities have already voted? And you wouldn't be here if one of them had voted to say no to it. At what point is Grimsby at? Are we number 3, 4, 5 on the docket? Do we know? Yeah. Is that 3, 4? How many municipalities have already voted in favor? Can we get that many have already voted in favor? I think I counted 9 fingers. Yeah, so we have 10, 11, and 12 to go. And I'm listening to some of my colleagues on this council suggesting they're not in favor of it when we've already got 9 municipalities in favor of it. I'd hate to think that Grimsby was the only one out of all the 12 municipalities that voted it down and spoiled this whole program. And I'd like to think too that the region has done their homework, done well, and done enough engagement. I think they know what they're talking about to this point, but yes, we're going into territory that we've never been before. But as we can all remember, some of us, not all of us, because some of us are too young, when the government decided to enforce seatbelts back in the 60s, oh my goodness, I was just a kid, but there's so many people said, I'm never going to wear a seatbelt. It's my right to not wear a seatbelt. And it just went on. I don't know if it was a year or two, but now we don't even think about it, do we? We all put our seatbelts on. If we don't, of course, the car will bing, 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 bing until we do. So my point is, it's change of behavior, just like Councillor Frake said. We've got to get on the game. This is we're in the 21st century. We need to engage in digital everything, and cameras are a thing that are going to continue to grow and provide us protection and safety and save lives. So thank you.
Councillor Bain.
Hi, I'm just going to be very, very brief. I just want to clarify one thing, and because I have experience in this area, if you go to the police, and I'm talking in response to not only Councillor Bothwell's previous comments, but also other people have said this before. If you go to the police and say, would you support speed cameras, or would you rather have more police officers? Guess what the union's going to say? More police officers. Go to the taxpayers and say, we're going to increase your taxes 3 to 4% to bring in more police officers. Guess what they're going to say? You're nuts. So it's a catch-22 situation. More police officers is not the option. We won't get the support of the community to fund it, and the police will always support that. Not to say the police don't support any kind of enforcement. I'm just saying if they had the option, they would rather have more police officers, as we all would if we could get it at a 0% increase. And I want to make it very clear that not all of us are opposed to outright on this. Councillor Bothwell and myself have both said we have concerns, as has Councillor Sharp and Councillor Ritchie. We've all said we have concerns about certain parts of it. I would like to see this, again, and it comes back to the consultation. I would like to see this on areas where we as members of council have talked about serious concerns, Lake Street, Main Street, Dorchester, so on and so forth. And all they're talking about is 2 areas. You know what? I've always said, as far as the tax grab comment, if you don't speed, you don't get a ticket, so it's not a tax grab. End of discussion. But I think there's more discussion that has to be had, and I think that's the biggest issue we're all facing right now. I was sold on this, as Councillor Frake said, but then when I started talking to a lot of people, and Councillor Sharp made some excellent comments because he's got some more contacts in the community, and he's made some excellent comments. So it's just, like I say, I think more discussion. Unfortunately, I don't think we have that option, but that's why I'm not going to do it right now. And I'm looking forward to hearing what Councillor Furtick has to say. Thank you.
Councillor Furtick.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council, for giving me the opportunity to maybe clear up some of these issues and your concerns. First of all, let me say to you that the people, the residents and the constituents in Niagara have spoken to the region and said that we have a problem with speeding, and we also have a problem with areas. We also have a problem with areas around schools, particularly the ones that are on regional roads. So staff has started this program, actually 2000, where they have gotten into the red light district, red light areas in other parts of the region. But let me clear one thing up here is that under no circumstances will 1 penny be charged against the municipality of Grimsby because of this program. This program is going to be completely taken care of by the region, and any profits after all the expenses are paid, 50% of the profits will come back to the municipalities. So it's not an entire revenue generator for the region. Everything is coming back to the municipality. I just tried to write some more things down. So please, whenever you start talking about it's going to cost the region $4 or $5 million, that is already in our budgets. It's got nothing to do with it's got nothing to do whatsoever with the municipalities. They're paying nothing, absolutely nothing. To answer Councillor Bain's concerns about the municipal roads, and that's a very valid situation. And that's a very valid comment, simply because, remember, this is strictly a region program. And I am sure that if Brandon wanted to turn around, or the CAO wanted to turn around and ask the region, could they expand the program into the municipal roads? Maybe that can happen. But you have to give the region an opportunity to run this program. This program is all about safety. It's all about protecting the kids that have schools on regional roads. And we know, ask Councillor Frake, he's on Main Street East, right on the regional. Ask him how many people go up that street that don't speed. Well, I don't think the answer, I don't think you'd even get an answer, to tell you the truth. I want to answer your question in reference to thresholds. Director Ryle has said that nobody is to know what the thresholds are because it's going to be basically run by the Niagara Regional Police. They're the ones that are going to set the thresholds. Of course, there's going to be regional staff there in part of this. I mean, they're not going to run it entirely themselves. So the region and the police are going to be the ones that set the thresholds. If it's 5 kilometers over the speed limit, then if you run 5 kilometers, if you break the law, you pay. Hamilton, as a matter of fact, loves the programs, particularly the red light programs, and it's profitable. So, it's going to be the police that are going to monitor, and they're going to monitor where the red light cameras are going to go. They're the ones that know exactly which intersections where there has been a lot of traffic problems or accidents, and they're the ones that are suggesting to the region of where these red lights going. Ask Councillor Cadwell about the number of accidents that happened in the Diamonds and the difficulty for him to get those red lights up. But if the statistics don't show, and ask them, if the statistics don't show that there's enough accidents at that intersection, they're not going to put them up. They're not going to install extra stop signs. Right now, I am told there is 9 municipalities unanimously have approved this program. There is a lot of concern about speeding. That's what this program is about. We have to help our constituents and slow down the speeder. Director Ryle has confirmed with me this afternoon that this program has been approved by the chief of police. Now, you know what? Maybe the chief of police has not contacted. Sorry, maybe the chief. Maybe the chief of police, I don't even know why this is on. The chief of police is in full support of this program throughout the entire Niagara region. He has been contacted. That doesn't mean to say that he hasn't consulted with his staff below him. Maybe he hasn't had an opportunity to go over the entire program with them. But the region has been into this program since 2000. So I ask that you give this some consideration, that you give the region an opportunity to put this program forward. The CAOs all agreed to this program. Our CAO is part of that entire group. So it's not that nobody has done any homework on it. We have. We've been doing it for a couple of years. So please don't turn this program down. This program, I hope that if you turn this program down, Director Ryle has already told us, this is not going to happen. And you're going to stop the entire region because you have some questions. Have no fear. Bring forward your questions and I'd be more than pleased. And so would Director Ryle be more than pleased to answer some more of your questions. But please don't turn this program down. Thank you, Mayor. If there's any specific questions, I'd be more than pleased to try and answer. And thank you very much for giving me at least the opportunity to try and clear some up, and particularly the one about financing, because financing is very important. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Furtick. I guess everyone has gone twice except for Councillor Vardy. So Councillor Vardy, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess just two points I'd like to make. There's one taxpayer. So to say that the region, it's not going to cost anybody because the region pays for it. We pay for the region. So, or the taxpayer pays for the region. So that's one thing. But I'd be willing to support this program if it could be tweaked and address some of the concerns that have been brought up. So it's not that it's not supported outright, but I just can't support it in its present form. Thank you.
Right, it seems everyone has spoken twice on this, so just need a mover and seconder for the resolution. Moved by Councillor Frake. And seconder, Councillor Cadwell. Is your hand up? Okay.
Recorded vote, please.
Yes, that's noted. Councillor Bothwell. Moved by Councillor Frake, second by Councillor Cadwell. Resolved that report DPW 21-32, Region of Niagara Vision Zero program dated December 20th, 2021 be received, and that the amending agreement to the Niagara Region Courts intermunicipal agreement attached as Appendix A be approved for the purpose of advancing the Vision Zero program, and that the mayor and clerk be authorized to execute the amending agreement to the Niagara Region Courts intermunicipal agreement. Recorded vote has been requested.
Councillor Bothwell,
No.
Councillor Dunstall,
Yes.
Counselor Frake,
Yes.
Counselor Cowell,
Yes.
Counselor Ritchie,
No.
Counselor Sharp,
No.
Counselor Vane,
At this time, no.
Counselor Vardy,
Not at this time. No.
Mayor Jordan,
Yes.
that's defeated.
All right, now we move to the adoption of the minutes. Need a mover and seconder. Moved by Counselor Ritchie, seconded by Counselor Dunstall. Moved by Counselor Ritchie, second by Counselor Dunstall. Resolved that the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of December 20th, 21 and council meeting minutes of December 20th, 21 be approved. All in favor? That's carried. Now we move to the consent agenda. Need a mover and seconder for the consent agenda. Moved by Counselor Vardy, seconder Counselor Ritchie. Thanks. Counselor Bothwell.
Can I please lift 8.8 point whatever A, the municipal land for deeming surplus, please?
Okay. All right. Is this the lifted one?
Yes.
All right. Okay, yep, that's been lifted, Counselor Bothwell. So we need a mover and seconder for the lifted motion. Okay, we'll just use the same. So moved by Counselor Vardy, second by Counselor Ritchie. Moved by Counselor Vardy, second by Counselor Ritchie. Resolved that report TC 22-07 dated January 17th, 2022 be received and that council declare the property municipally known as 44 Lakeside Drive in Appendix A surplus, and that council directs staff to proceed with deeming surplus and dispersal of the parcel of municipality owned property, and that the mayor and town clerk are hereby authorized to execute any and all documents necessary to complete the conveyance of the land. Any discussion? No, seeing none. Counselor Bothwell, go ahead.
That's why I lifted it. Thank you, Mayor.
Yes.
So it's just that I wanted to ensure in number 3, recommendation number 3, that we follow our bylaw for the establishing the procedures governing the sale of real property. And I believe, clerk, that is bylaw 9565, unless there's been an update to it. Can we include in recommendation 3 that council directs staff to proceed with deeming surplus and dispersal of the project subject to bylaw 9565, or because it does outline very clearly the process that needs to be followed in order for that disposal. If the clerk could just confirm, and if that amendment could be seconded, I'd appreciate it.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, can you just give me 1 minute? I'm just going to confirm that there was no amending bylaw after 9565, but I'll definitely make the changes. Through you, Mr. Mayor, that bylaw was repealed by bylaw 0776, which it is in the report that we will be following. Under purpose.
Yep.
So that, okay, yeah.
So that as long as the bylaws 0776 is the one we're following, which is the process to be followed, I'm good with that. Thank you.
Yes.
Counselor Sharp.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Jordan. I'm just wondering, how long will this take and when will this property be on the market?
Brandon, do you want to answer that?
Sure, through you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if I can answer that right away. I obviously we're waiting for council resolution before we can action it. The next step will be obviously to follow the requirements of the bylaw as we move through it. Be a property appraisal and so on. So I don't think it's a matter of a couple of months. It may be into the summer. You know, sometime this year, I think is a reasonable timeline.
Okay. Okay. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Just a point of clarification too, Brandon. I think, isn't there an underground infrastructure that will probably have to be moved to make it saleable, or has that been done already?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I guess to you, Mr. Mayor. There is underground infrastructure, and there would have to be some, again, depending on what, who buys the lot or how it, whoever buys the lot would have to determine, you know, what would have to satisfy us in terms of that storm sewer and how they're maintaining it.
Thank you. Councillor Sharp.
My hand is just still up. I don't have any more.
All right. Does anyone want me to read the resolution again, or can we just vote on it? I'll just ask how about all in favor? That's carried. Councillor Vardy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a question before we moved into closed. It says the next meeting is February 7, and I guess I'd like to know why it's not January 31st, because we have them every 2 weeks.
We have only with the January 2nd, I guess it was holiday. That was the first Monday in the year. We only triggered the third Monday. So that would be the fifth Monday, January 31st. So that's why it's February 7th. And
can you run that by me again? Because I didn't understand.
January 2nd is was the first Monday, right? Oh, January 3rd. Thank you, Sarah. January 3rd was the first Monday of the month, which was a holiday. And January 17th was the third Monday. So first and third.
Okay.
Councillor Ritchie?
Mr. the Mayor, are we on announcements now?
Yes, we are on announcements now.
Okay.
Even though I didn't announce we were on announcements, but we are.
So thank you. If you allow me to speak then, it's all right.
Absolutely.
Thank you. So I want to make this point here. So after Wednesday's meeting, I was feeling a little bit disturbed. I'm not sure if some people were in the same shock that I was, and that's why maybe it wasn't addressed at this time. But if it's not addressed tonight, I feel that I would be agreeing with this kind of behavior. Certain councillor made comments in regards to spanking, which were directed at me, and I feel it constitutes a little sexual harassment. These actions and words were very inappropriate, and action should be taken to ensure this kind of behavior does not happen in the future, as it is unacceptable. Anything less would be taken as a sign of supporting this inappropriate behavior. Thank you.
Are there any further announcements? Councillor Vardy?
If I may, can I address Councillor Ritchie's remarks?
Point of order.
Yes, Councillor Sharp, go ahead.
Just kind of crosstalk allowed?
Well, if
not
Councillor Vardy
possible.
goes through me to address them, I guess that's procedurally correct.
Yeah, but it's an announcement.
It's,
I'll confer with the clerk. Yeah, since it's not a debate portion of the meeting, it is an announcement. So Councillor Sharp, you are correct. Councillor Cadwell?
I'm okay now. You made that decision. Thank you.
Councillor Frake?
Thank you, Mayor Jordan. I just wanted to give a shout out to the town, particularly the Public Works Department, for doing such a phenomenal job with clearing the snow. This was, I mean, they were there right at the crest of dawn. I mean, and the snow was removed. I mean, everyone, I've gotten a number of calls from a number of residents, which is great on a positive note, which are usually are the more negative, but very, very positive about the amount of work and the quality of work and the speed of the work they put into removing snow around the town. So Brandon, I want you to move that information back to your people. They did a great job. I mean, as a matter of fact, I sat in the window of my house there and watched them as they tediously, plowed the streets and the sidewalks and so on and so forth. Great job. And I just want to give you a shout out for that. Thank you.
Councillor Sharp?
Thanks, Mayor Jordan. I just wanted to announce or talk about that the province will be opening restaurants and gyms and certain other things, but specific in Grimsby, our restaurants, and it'll be on I think the 31st of January. It's about 10 days from now, so it's just after next weekend. And I know everybody is eager to get out, and I know the restaurants are eager to have you. So just so everyone is aware. Thank you.
Councillor Vardy?
thank you. I have an announcement, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to announce that at the last meeting, I made an inappropriate remark towards one of my colleagues. And for one, I'd like to apologize. That's all. And I am deeply, deeply sorry. If any counselor would ever think that I would engage in any kind of sexual harassment. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It looks like that's all for announcements, but I just want to again commend Brandon and the Public Works staff. And for the downtown portion, the snowdrifts were quite high along the edge of the road, and they disappeared overnight. I think it was Tuesday night, and so Wednesday morning the snow was all gone downtown, and it was quite nice. So what a great job they did. Oh, Councillor Cadwell, I see you have your hand up. Councillor Cadwell, you're muted.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I sent an email out earlier this afternoon to staff and councilors, and yeah, that's great that our staff took upon them to get that cleared up as quickly as they did. I know in last pass, and I know Councillor Dunst will be familiar with this, we've always had, quite often, we've had issues having the downtown snow removed from the streets and that, and off the sidewalks, because it does create a hazardous safety component for shoppers. And also the cars are parked further out into the roadway, and as I mentioned in my email. But yeah, again, Brandon, Mr. Wharton, great work from the staff. Thank you.
Councillor Dunstall.
If I could just add my 2 cents worth to that comments about the snow removal, and that is that on our previous term of council, as Councillor Cadwell has alluded to, I would have called that the great debate, trying to get that snow off the sides of the road, because that snow was pushed there by the region because it's a regional road, and we clear the sidewalks. And we used to have a few moments of it was toiling, but it's wonderful to see that it's happened. And I know the downtown merchants are probably smiling from ear to ear, because when the snow's there, it is a real hazard trying to get from your car up onto that sidewalk. So it's great to see us working together. Thank you.
Thank you. The next meeting is scheduled for February 7th, 2022, following the Committee of the Whole. And now we're moving into closed session. I'll read the closed session electronic statement declaration. Good evening, members of council. Before we begin the closed session, all members are reminded that any discussions in closed are to remain confidential as per our procedural bylaw and our code of conduct for the council of the town of Grimsby. Before we begin, I need each member that is attending electronically to confirm the following: that you understand that the matters are to remain confidential, and confirm that no one else is present with you, and confirm no one else can hear this closed session, and confirm that you are not using any electronic devices other than your tablet or computer for the purposes of this video conferencing only, and confirm that you're not recording this portion of the meeting. If you acknowledge all the above, please reply with "I understand" and confirm to all the statements. Councillor Bothwell?
I understand and confirm to all the statements.
Councillor Dunstall?
I understand and confirm to all the statements.
Councillor Frake?
I understand and confirm to all the statements.
Councillor Cadwell?
I understand and confirm to all the statements.
Councillor Ritchie?
I understand and confirm to all the statements.
Councillor Sharp?
I understand and confirm to all except electronic.
Councillor Vane?
Understand and confirm to all statements.
Councillor Vardy?
I understand and confirm to all the statements.
And I myself, I understand and confirm to all the statements. Just need a mover and seconder to go into closed. Moved by Councillor Dunstall. Seconder, Councillor Cadwell. Moved by Councillor Dunstall, second by Councillor Cadwell. Resolved that council meet in closed session under section 2392B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, personnel employee matter. All in favor to go into closed? That is carried.
Recording in progress.
Welcome back to the public. We're now back in open session. I need a mover and seconder to approve that the closed session update be received. Moved by Councillor Ritchie, seconder, Councillor Dunstall. Moved by Councillor Ritchie, second by Councillor Dunstall. Resolved that the closed session update be received. All in favor? Oh, it looks like there's a bunch of hands down. I'll ask for a recorded vote.
Councillor Bothwell,
Yes.
Councillor Dunstall,
Yes.
Councillor Frake,
No.
Councillor Cowell,
Yes.
Councillor Ritchie,
Yes.
Councillor Sharp,
Yes.
Councillor Vane,
Yes.
Councillor Vardy,
No.
Mayor Jordan.
No.
That's carried.
Just a quick question. That was just a vote to receive.
Yes, that's correct.
So no to receiving. Okay, thanks.
Need a mover and seconder to approve the first bylaw. Moved by Councillor Ritchie, second by Councillor Bothwell. Moved by Councillor Ritchie, second by Councillor Bothwell. Resolved that leave be given to introduce bylaws 22-02 and that same be read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. Need a mover and seconder for second and third reading. Moved by Councillor Ritchie, second by Councillor Dunstall. Moved by Councillor Ritchie, second by Councillor Dunstall. Resolved that leave be given to introduce bylaw 22-02, read a first time, now be read a second and third time, and finally passed, and the mayor and the town clerk to sign and seal the same and rule council to the contrary notwithstanding. All in favor? That's carried. Meeting is adjourned.
Have a good week.